Welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. I am Matterall with Carneros.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
Today we're going to interview CSM Dopamine and CSM Goodfella, two people who are well acquainted with the...
Not CSM.
CCP. I like it.
This is why we don't do it live.
I almost want to keep that in because it's like customary for Matterall to like screw with people's names.
It's fine, yeah.
Okay. Excuse me, let me correct that. That is CCP Dopamine and CCP Goodfella. And they are here because they are well acquainted with CSM, the Council of Stellar Management. And we're going to talk for this next hour about the CSM. All right, first I'd like to introduce CCP Dopamine. How are you doing, Dopamine?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. This is the first time that we've talked and had you on Talking in Stations.
Yeah, I'm super excited and nervous a little bit.
Don't be. So I'll also like to introduce CCP Goodfella, and he's now a veteran of Talking in Stations. He's been here. This is his second time. How are you doing?
Great to be here again. Look forward to the discussion. And actually, my name is CSM Goodfella, just to have that clear.
Okay, so let's go to Dopamine first. Your background, you formerly worked at Blizzard, and now that you're at CCP, you were hired on for actually a different game. You were hired on for Project Nova.
Yeah, that's correct. I joined CCP. Actually, it will be a year in 5 days that I started working. Will be my work anniversary. And I flew here from France when, as you pointed out, I was working for Blizzard Entertainment in the HQ in Europe.
Oh, are you French?
No, I'm originally from Poland.
Oh, okay. So Project Nova, though, it looks like it stalled or something. We don't know what happened there, but you ended up sticking around and working on EVE Online.
That's right. At the end of last year, when we were doing changes to the scope of the project, I started transitioning to EVE Online to help out Falcon and Guard with all the crazy projects and initiatives they're doing. And after Guard's departure, I transitioned full-time to help Paul with the World Tour and everything community-related.
Cool. So Goodfella, you guys saw somebody you liked and said, let's keep him around?
No-brainer.
I thought you were going to say no. But you said no-brainer, right?
No-brainer, awesome addition to the team.
Yeah, great. All right, well, welcome to Talking in Stations. And Goodfella, you were here during the epic blackout interview that we did with Hilmar and Falcon. And here you are again. You know, that show got 18,000 views and listens.
And we're going for 19,000 today.
That's right. Got to break that record. All right, well, welcome to both of you again. Let's talk about the CSM. Carneros?
Yeah, but before we talk about the summit minutes for this CSM Summit, we should probably describe for new listeners what the CSM is. The Council of Stellar Management is an annually elected body from the player base that is chosen by us to go to be our sort of liaison and representatives to the developers, CCP Games, to tell them the things that we're concerned about or to give them feedback as a sort of a ready focus group whenever they want to run something past them. Is that a fair description?
Sounds about right, yeah, definitely.
This is, I think, the 14th panel that we've done. Is it something like that?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so it's working great, and we all think. I mean, it could be improved, but
well, let me interrupt you, Carneros.
Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you, Carneros. It was 14 CSMs, 14 councils that have been formed, but they started in 2009. So something happened there, right? Like now we elect a council every year, but when it first started, we were electing them every 6 months, I believe.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah. Now it's annual. Okay, so and one of the current rhythms of the CSM is that twice a year, most of them make a trip to Reykjavik to meet in person with the development team, which, if you didn't know, CCP EVE Online is built out of Reykjavik, Iceland. Yeah, not very many games are built there. They're also meeting daily and weekly electronically in other formats to talk about things. So they're reading messages back and forth, discussing things less formally than these big meetings. But the big meetings are now sort of a tradition, and we take minutes at them and we release the minutes afterwards. And that's part of what this conversation is about. Do you anticipate this format changing going forward, or are we going to stick with this for a while?
So it's difficult to say at this point. I think that there are certainly improvements that can be made in different areas of how the CSM institution is working right now. I think that getting people here to talk in person and interact with the development team it's a must, and it always yields a positive and great results in terms of all the discussions and topics that are being brought up. Twice a year, I think for now it works well. Obviously, we need to consider that it's a 1 week trip when all the members need to leave their families behind. They're using their personal holidays for it. And as much as we're trying to make it as easy, as convenient for them, it's still something that they need to account into their own lives. So making it more frequently, I think it would be unfair to all the council members.
I think also a point here with this, like a lot of stuff happens in the big meetings when they come here, but with them coming here, it also helps facilitate the weekly or daily discussions we have with them, because meeting people face to face is like completely different than just talking with a person on the internet.
Exactly. I take it from watching, from past sessions, but also from reading these minutes, that it helps if the CSM members are subject matter experts in parts of the game, that you guys can use them for advice and reactions if you're working on that part of the game, since they know maybe what it's really like to use that or play in that part. Are there areas that you hope, are there subject areas that you hope next year's CSM has subject matter experts for that maybe this year's doesn't?
I think it's not really an answer for me to decide, since the CSM is being elected democratically, and with the current system, there is no way for CCP to enforce that we want to have people representing specific groups or having specific knowledge in different areas. Obviously, the more diversity we would have in terms of people being knowledgeable with PvP, people being knowledgeable about high-sec playstyle, low-sec, null-sec, wormholes, all the different areas that can ensure that they represent as many people within the game as possible is desirable. I just don't think we really cracked the solution how to make it properly.
Great.
Oh, by the way, you listen to other forms of feedback from the player base as well. It's not just the CSM, right? That gets the access to you guys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, CSM is very dear to us, and we rely heavily on their feedback and their expertise. But we never limit ourselves only to one source of feedback and suggestions. So we actively go to listen to what people have to say on forums. We actively go to read what Reddit is talking about on any particular day. We monitor our social media. We monitor our mailboxes. We have plenty of conversations with people individually and with regular players by just being on Discord. So the feedback that we get is basically a collective effort from the whole community, with the CSM being more as the leaders in specific areas.
Are there, thank you on these minutes. These minutes are great. Thank you to, is it CCP Spider who wrote them out?
Yeah, so generally CCP Spider helps us a lot, thank God, and say hello to him right now, to take the minutes during the summit sessions. And then obviously we work together on formatting them, reviewing through all the different CCPers as well as CSM members to make sure that they're actually more readable to people instead of all the blurbs and blobs that we put them during the summit.
So take us through what it's like to attend a CSM if you're one of the CSM members. Let's say it's your first time and you're just getting off the plane in Iceland. What are they experiencing? Talk our listeners through it so they feel like they're there.
So definitely the first thing you're going to be shocked is probably how beautiful the Iceland is. And then you will be meted by our lovely driver that will take you from the airport right to your hotel. Usually we get the CSM members to arrive at least one day earlier than the summit starts, so they have some time to recuperate, depending where they're flying from. They might be on the jet lag or they might be tired. And once that's done, we probably meet somewhere in the evening. For this summit, we actually had organized just a meetup in the pub with all the different CCPers that could make it in the evening to have a good time, start chatting about spaceships, get to know each other, and meet people in person to understand better the dynamic for the week. And once that's done, the things start on Monday when we get together. We distribute everything that people need to have in terms of access to the building and information, any swag if there's any. The agenda is delivered usually in advance, so coming to the summit, you kind of have a general idea of what the topics of discussion will be. You not necessarily know exactly to the detail, especially for the sessions that CCP is bringing up what's going to be discussed, but you're not going there completely blind.
Well, it's fantastic. So then they stay in a hotel and they get up in the morning, and then what happens?
And then they have breakfast. Isn't that right, Goodfella?
Yes, sir. Having breakfast with them is the pinnacle of my year.
In the hotel, down at the CCP office, in the cafeteria? Where?
No, it's in the hotel, usually when they have breakfast, because then they can have it at the time they really want, as opposed of the short window that is happening at CCP. Obviously, if they want to come to CCP for breakfast, they're more than welcome to. That's absolutely not a problem. And once they're all fed and caffeinated, we sit in the meeting room. We make ourselves comfortable, and we get ready for a full day of quite intensive discussions about EVE Online.
Is it just like the pictures we've seen on the internet of the conference room with all the people around it?
That's correct. Yeah, that's usually how the whole week looks like, with some breakout sessions when maybe we get to do some play testing, or this summit as well. We were trying organizing some lunches with different people. So the CSM would go for a lunch with other guys, just to exactly introduce different dynamics when you can be discussing stuff in a slightly different setting. Right. And then you do it for 4 days.
Yikes.
Do you get to do anything fun besides meetings and drinking and meals?
I think this is all fun, if you ask me.
I agree.
Sure.
Okay.
Does the temperature go up in that room?
Sometimes, yeah. But usually we open the windows very wide, so the breeze that gets in cools everybody down.
What's this? I heard about goblins or somebody sleeping outside on the balcony or something. Do people take naps during this?
I think it was the first time it happened, especially outside when the weather wasn't so nice. So Gobbins went out and took a little time for himself and then fall asleep for 15 minutes or so.
Wow.
He was rudely awakened by an argument between two CSM members, Aerith and Dunkdinkle, as he describes it.
Good.
I mean, I think it only shows, how mentally draining those meetings are, that especially with the travel and jet lag, sometimes, your energy levels can be really low. And we need CSM members to be at their top energy levels to engage in those very complex discussions that we often have.
So usually CCP presents things to the CSM, but I heard this year there was one the other direction. Is that true? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think in general it would be that CCP is bringing up topics or like data or informations to the meetings, not necessarily deciding on the topics themselves. But it didn't happen before, I think for a long time, if I'm not mistaken, that it was the CSM who was presenting a different subject to the CCP, which I personally believe was actually fantastic. I think we should be doing this more, as it's a very nice way to convey to the CCP what the particular community feels like about their gameplay or about EVE Online from their perspective. And then we can match it with, the things that we're seeing from internally, match it with the data that we have to see if, people are feeling the way we want them to feel, or if there's some discrepancies of players believing something to be completely different.
All right. Were you in the session where he where Exuki Z presented the wormhole presentation?
Yes, I was there.
All right, and you got something out of it.
Oh, I've learned quite a lot of things about what wormholers are actually doing right now, how do they operate, and how they playing the game. Obviously, that not necessarily is the full picture of every single wormhole person, but it was a very nice, summary of at least the pool of players that the Exuki have surveyed, which I cannot remember from the top of my head, but it's been a decent amount of players that responded to the survey that he sent.
A fantastic presentation, and that's what I've heard internally as well. Like, people really enjoyed it. And I think this concept of presenting to CCP, it's a much more digestible format. Just like, what's the status of this and why, and it's really cool.
Fantastic.
And also, just to jump in from my point of view for CSM, it's just amazing to be able to have these. I mean, collectively, they probably have 100 years of experience with EVE or something together, the whole CSM. Having them in a room together with us in Iceland for a week is just fantastic opportunity to get really good feedback. And what often happens is filling in the schedule is a bit difficult in the beginning. People are a bit more maybe timid to present, to discuss with the CSM. But by the time they're here, maybe on the second day, their schedule ends up being overpacked because people realize they're here and to get feedback on this and this and this. And so that's usually what happens.
This actually happened this summit as well. We usually planned for one hour session with the art team. And once we got into the room, we basically went through 20% of what the guys wanted to show us. And then we decided to break it down into smaller half-an-hour sessions to give time for the audio guys and the VFX guys and artists to bring the topics they wanted to bring and maybe seek feedback or ask questions or simply, present all the cool stuff that they're working on.
So that was something that happened organically. That wasn't a strategy of having a meeting and then having breakout sessions for that topic.
That happened organically during the week.
And a lot of that happens in the CSM week when they're here. And it's just also having them here and discussing and having follow-up and getting to know them a bit better personally, because there's obviously some rotation always between summits, and then being able to have a discussion with them afterwards online about specific topics, throw ideas around, get chewed out, for stupid ideas. That happens also.
Wait, who's doing the chewing out?
All of them. It just depends on my idea.
Okay, so they're chewing you out on ideas, and then does CCP ever say, well, CCP doesn't chew out people for ideas. I imagine they just say like, thanks for that information.
I know, I'm more exaggerating as well. They're frank with their feedback, and it's just really good to have a discussion with them.
Good. All right. Well, let's. Shall we talk about the minutes and go to some points of interest, Carneros, or do we have the setting set?
We do. So we, instead of going session by session through all of them, because there's too many. Are there any that specific? What did you think was the best one, CCP Dopamine? Best one in your eyes, or best one you got the most out of, or one you think CCP got the most out of?
So while I haven't been physically for the full session, I think the playstyle diversity has been a very interesting and very engaging session, not only for the CSM, but also for the CCP. It actually has been a topic that was brought up by the CSM to discuss during the summit. So, we didn't really know what we're getting into, if I can put it this way. But it actually resulted in a very interesting and candid conversation about all the different playstyles that maybe are having been receiving so much attention as the other ones currently in EVE Online.
That was Gobbins and Olmeca, or I think Gobbins suggested that one, didn't he?
It's either one of them. I could look it up, but it's either Gobbins or Olmeca.
Okay. Yeah, and that to me was like the best. When I saw that title, I was like, wow, finally they're looking at, they're looking at the diversity of EVE Online, diversity of gameplay. So I thought that was really interesting. And you got a lot out of it, so that's great. I thought it kind of went back to, and this is one of the issues that I have with CSM that I'm very public about, is that it's got a lot of people that play or are acquainted with nullsec. So I figure it's a nullsec heavy CSM. And having let's talk about the diversity of gameplay. And it kind of goes back to, well, should we have moons because they're conflict drivers, or, is empire building the way to go? It kind of got reeled back into what nullsec cares about, not about exploration, not about wormholes. It didn't seem like it was as diverse, but again, we're looking at redacted minutes and stuff. So
I think there's always going to be that pool that brings us back to the topics that are the most dearest to the CSM members present in the room at that time. But we obviously have means to balance it out exactly by bringing the topics to the CSM or setting the theme for the session. To get their honest feedback that not necessarily, is about LowSec per se.
And also, there's a lot captured, not captured in these meeting minutes, the discussions at the bar or at the breakfast or at the lunch. There's so much discussion about so many things, but don't think it's fair just to look at CSM success by just judging the CSM minutes.
I imagine the CSM minutes are less than half of all of the interactions that went on during the week that they were there.
If you're looking at pure interactions, then absolutely. There's so much things going on. There's so much chatter and conversations and discussions happening in between sessions, in the evenings, in the mornings. That's simply something we cannot really capture with the minutes themselves. But speaking purely about the minutes, I would say that you're looking at about 70 or 80% of things that the final product represents.
Yeah.
Let me butt in here. Well, actually, you go ahead because I'm going to switch to a Hilmar AMA.
Yeah, on the Hilmar AMA, there was a striking image that he talked, a story he told from the past, apparently a true story about the RAF fighters coming back from sorties to Europe and having bullet holes in their wings and stuff. It was a striking image. Matterall, is that what you were going to talk about next?
Yeah, because I think that it goes into the diversity of play styles, and so I thought it tailed in really well. Like the fact that they had that session. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry to screw all this up, but before we go on, Goodfella, did you have a session that you liked or liked seeing on the agenda?
I'm actually, even though I'm in marketing, I studied economics, and I am an economist. So personally, any topics on economy, I love. The EVE economy is so amazing. Just the macro economy, the impacts, and all of that. But that's more personally because I'm not working on that day-to-day basis necessarily. But professionally, obviously, the marketing meeting we have with them is good. And then they give us feedback or give us ideas, and then we always throw around marketing ideas to them just on a day-to-day basis, and they give me really good feedback how to best speak with our audience, and so
okay.
Those are the two.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were an economist. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm an economist, and just accidentally got into marketing. But so I like to explain all marketing within Excel.
You're perfect for this game.
Perfect.
All right. So, yeah, moving into one of the things that was striking to me was the Hilmar AMA. I think this is the first time he's ever done that. He basically gave them time, the CSM time, to ask him questions, and also he could explain things. And you could see there was a good give and take in that session. And one of the examples that Carneros brought up earlier was the
story of the air.
But I forget who it was that told us. It was some story from some guy who wrote it. And basically what it meant was that there's a survivor bias in the CSM, and there's a survivor bias in the players that are most vocal, the ones that you're all hearing about, including ourselves, that because we've been here and we survived, that if CCP listens to them, they're not really creating opportunities for players that aren't us. And that was a problem. So the example went when the planes landed and they had bullet holes all over their planes, those were the planes that survived. So those holes were okay. It's the planes that went down. Those were the holes that they need to patch. And that was a really good way of saying, you guys have your opinions, but what we need to do is make sure that we're going back to the beginning and looking at what knocked people out of the game. And that's the areas that we need to fix.
And this and Hilmar took this example into because of just explaining survivor bias as a concept, and I think it's actually a fantastic example to use because it explains the survivor bias so well. And this is hand in hand with the new player focus, embracing new players and improving their lives. And it's not specifically bias in the CSM and the community. It's just when we look at people that have gotten through this, through the first steps of EVE, which are incredibly difficult, which we've shown in numbers, instead of finding patterns there, looking at patterns in the people that gave up, that found it too difficult, finding patterns and what we can do to improve their lives. So that was sort of the point in this that discussion.
Right. And yeah, and so basically, and you cleared something up. It's not bias that the CSM has or the players have, but this is basically a lesson that you need to go back to the beginning and fix the stuff in the beginning. And that's the lesson that you guys took out of it.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And not looking at always the people that got through because they have a certain grit and maybe connections and stuff, but looking at the people that fall off and why that is. And that is sort of what I think he was trying to convey in that session.
How do you think the CSM took that? Is there any indication how they took that? Like, did they seem to agree? Did they understand? Or did they say, well, that's not the case? Or can you describe that or not?
I was not present in the AMA, but sorry, go ahead.
I think it would be best to ask CSM themselves about it, how they feel. I wouldn't like to be putting words into their mouths. From my perspective, I think it was a very good session for everyone. There was a lot of things that has been discussed, not only about the Abraham World example, but anything else. And there was a clear, you could visibly see that people are resonating and people are receptive to what Hilmar's saying and vice versa. CCP was also processing and taking on the feedback and information. And while this is absolutely true that, hey, we need to look into those planes that are never coming back into the base, that doesn't mean that those planes that came back, we're not going to look into them at all and we're just going to send them back into the war with the holes in there.
Exactly. And that's also a really good point that maybe I didn't touch upon. It's not saying none of that feedback is irrelevant. Like, by no means. Like, it's great to get feedback from current and past EVE players. It's just also looking at the other stuff.
Absolutely. I think it's extremely important because those are the only guys who actually came back from the battlefield. So we can learn quite a lot from them.
Amen. I would say you need to talk to their friends that didn't make it back. Like, what guys did you try to get in that said, yeah, I'm not playing this game? Like, what did they say? Those are the guys you need to talk to. And I say this because you guys are going 80-20, right, with development.
What he means is there was a part in the minutes that said you're spending 80% of your development resources at the moment on onboarding a new player experience and helping players get their footing in the game, and 20% on the veterans, the people who are well established in the game and playing to make their experience better.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have like a dashboard of like exact development resources if it's being spent 79, 81%, but in general, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we're definitely focusing quite a lot on all the new player journey and experience and everything that has been identified as pain points for the new pilots to stick around and enjoy their adventure in New Eden.
So is that what you would consider the I don't know if that's considered the vision. Can we talk about vision for a minute? Like, do you guys, what do you want to say about CCP having a roadmap or a vision or any of that?
So I can start on the vision. The long-term plan is to set up EVE for the third decade. And that's why we're investing in things like 64-bit client. Like, there's no benefit short-term in investing in a 64-bit client. We're doing it because we are going for the long-term. We are investing in new players because that is what we've seen. And we have like about 3,000 human beings trying out EVE Online every single day. And for example, the metrics that CCP Burger showed at Toronto, just black and white, showed how many people are interested in EVE and how many people stick to EVE. And actually, I've seen some discussion online about like these are just people making alt accounts and all that. I mean, a lot of people have alt accounts in EVE, but we are looking at metrics of human beings. Like, we are not looking at number of alt accounts. We're looking at number of people trying out the game. Then we are working on increasing challenges for the veterans. And that is the plan. And then there's a whole other separate discussion whether people agree with that or not. But this is the plan. This is where we're going.
And I think this is exactly a nice way to give a direction for the whole organization. What do we consider to be important for the foreseeable future? We do have obviously internal roadmaps. Maybe they're not in the state that we could take them to be a visual representation for the community and for the players. While some people can say that this is disappointing, we rather share with you things that we're working on right now, or we know tell you about the things that we know for sure are going to be added, as opposed of releasing a roadmap that 50% of the items there actually are not going to happen because in 6 months' time maybe there's some other project that's going to take priority. We need to allow ourselves to be able to reprioritize based on the needs for the game and the community.
Exactly. We're always learning new things. Things change in the external environment. So instead of having some public roadmap or 5-year plan, we'd rather just talk about what we're working on and what we're delivering.
Excellent. So do you, when a player's reading the minutes, what percentage of the minutes should they be thinking are redacted as they're reading these minutes? Just a little, a lot, significant?
I would say that on average, it would be between 20 or 30% that is redacted from the sessions. Some of them contain more confidential information than the others. Some of them are, entirely removed. So it's not really a very clear split, but we're trying to, put out there as much information as we can to show the process and to ensure the transparency for the system. I wouldn't necessarily say that the summit meeting minutes are a medium or a platform for us to be making announcements about unreleased stuff. So that's why, there might be a lack of exactly specific planning or decisions that you would like to see being included there, because we want to save those for different ways of communication.
On that subject, a lot of people right now are excited about eVegas coming up, because that is a platform for introducing an announcement at the eVegas keynote. So Matterall and I are thinking every day about eVegas. It's not that far away. We're excited.
Like 2.5 weeks, right?
Are either of you going to be there?
I'm going to be there, that's for sure.
Good fun.
Yeah. Gonna be there 3rd time in a row. Can't wait. It's gonna be super fun.
Yay. Okay, excellent.
That is part of the whole world tour. Like, we're not finished with the world tour, and we're getting close to the end because there's Vegas, and then I believe there's London, and that kind of wraps it up. And then next year you go to something that looks a little more scaled back, because what you're doing is so crazy this year, so many countries. So next year, let's talk about that. You're going to be doing something in Moscow, something in Iceland, and then something in San Diego, not Las Vegas. Can you talk about the decision to go to San Diego? Or?
Yeah, first of all, the world tour has been fantastic. It's been so much fun going to all these cities and meeting EVE players locally, different groups of people and more players. It's been also crazy work for the team. It's not a sustainable long-term plan to have a world tour every year, let me tell you. But so next year, yes, FanFest is coming back, which is going to be awesome. Really look forward to that. Then we're going to have an event in Moscow. So we had an event in St. Pete this year, and St. Pete was tremendously successful. A lot of interest there. And the Russians are a huge part of the EVE community.
Yeah. And we saw the enthusiasm on that video that you did. That was really good, Dopamine. That was a great video you were in.
Yeah, I have to say that our Russian players are one of the most enthusiastic and energetic people I've met. I really had a blast. And also, the War Tour for me is some form of like an entry point into the community as well. It's the first time I'm going around. It's the first time I'm meeting a lot of players from around the world in those locations. And it has been absolutely amazing to just hear all of those different stories and just interact with a very vibrant and colorful and friendly and happy, despite some others people believe, group of people. It's been great.
So you're exhausted, Goodfella, from this year?
I had also a baby in the middle of it, so that added a bit of complexities. But but it's super fun. And then I also want to discuss about San Diego, and I've been monitoring also the discussion on the internet. So what we saw with the World Tour, our lesson is that with changing all these locations, we are able to meet more players than before. So more EVE players are able to go to an EVE meet, which I think there's something magical about going to an EVE meet. And I think there was an article posted by Jintan, I believe, on mmorpg.com when he went to EVE Berlin. It's a fantastic read. I recommend reading it. And it's just that going to an EVE meet is like a magical moment for an EVE player. And we want to be able to bring an EVE meet to more players. We see it both in the data and the qualitative feedback on site that we are able to meet more players by traveling. So we are going to be hosting an event in San Diego next year. Of course, it can be argued, like, why is it not more extreme of a move? Why don't you go to New York or everything? Like, location is, we can go to so many locations, but we went with San Diego because of density of EVE players in that area. So it's not only just us choosing some random spot. It's we go for also use statistics, and I think it's going to be awesome. And I want to also note, like, I really hope there will be a EVE player gathering in EVE Vegas next year, and we're ready to support that. That'd be awesome. It's not like we're going in competition with an EVE meet or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be really good if there is an EVE meet in Vegas next year.
Probably will be, but who knows? Probably because it was there before, and you guys endorsed it for a while, and it'll probably be afterwards. And some people have said that they're going to have it, so probably. But what I like about this is it turns to me, this is something I've said before publicly, that Vegas is a great place if you want to go party, but it's not a great place if you want to talk to somebody, because the music's constantly loud. So to have discussions about the game is not something that's that easy until you get to the floors where they have the actual presentations. Then it's quiet up there, but nobody hangs out there. They go there for the presentations or to buy some stuff from the store, and then they take off and go hang out at a bar. Great party, but not enough EVE for me. So I was thinking I need to go to FanFest, where it's all about EVE Online, where you meet people, you see the country that this game was imagined from, and you get a lot more of the actual conference. In other words, it's not so much about all the parties and all the players. It's more about the game itself. And that attracts me. So I think San Diego might be a little bit of that too, which I'm excited about.
Exactly. And like there are some people that don't like the concept or the idea. Like, everybody are entitled to their own opinion, but San Diego is going to be an awesome event. It's going to be different. We're not trying to create another Vegas. We're trying to have an event in San Diego. And like you said, it's different. It will be different, but it's going to be so much fun.
I think every event I went to this year has been having something unique, some certain gimmick that you could really differentiate it from the others. So I don't think there is one meet that is exactly the same as the other. And I'm quite positive that, Vegas is going to be different than San Diego, as Amsterdam is different to St. Petersburg or Sydney. It's a different group of people. They've been running those events for years differently. They like to do different things, and I think it's only great that we're going to be able to explore something new and try something different and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, we know that we have limited time here, so we want to go to one more question, and this is about marketing EVE Online. And this goes to you, Goodfella, but of course you can both answer. And that is, you just talked about all the players that you're meeting around the world as you travel. And this is a game that is a global game. You have to think of it in terms of not a game for US players. It's a game, it's global. So what's it like trying to market EVE Online?
it's so much fun. First of all, it's and what you got was well, and that's also the challenge about marketing to different audience, like the Russian players, which play a big role. That we need to speak to them and talk to them completely differently. So it's just every day is different. Every group of players within EVE, like you guys talked about before, high seekers, low seekers, null seekers, wormholers, people that like to trade, people that like to mine, being able to talk to them about different things is really fun, but also challenging.
I would think one of the things that impressed me the most, and I didn't think this would happen, but when I saw, we call it FinFest, but it was EVE at home, and it was at a guy's house in Finland, was just how laid back it was and how conversational it was and how European it was. And that was that had a huge appeal to me, even though I live in a great city, Los Angeles, in the United States, to be able to kind of travel and feel what it's like to be in a different country with, the customs of the sauna and the hot tub and all that kind of stuff. It just felt great. Like I was traveling with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also been good for us to travel to these very different locations, because we are meeting, like you said, different group of EVE players, because they are different. Not every country is the same, and not every play style is the same. So in Finland, these were, a lot of them were hardcore wormholers. So you had like just a focus group of wormholers in the sauna to.
So that's what they look like.
Yeah. Russian players, like Dopamine was saying before, they are hardcore and passionate and have different styles of gameplay. So taking this world tour also has given us and Australia, of course, people that are dealing with different things, so more like networking ideas and things like a different time zone. So it's different parts of the meta, and it's given us good insight also into different parts of EVE.
Yeah. Well, there's this trailer that came out. It's for Invasion. It's got 6.5 million views. That is way more than any video trailer for EVE Online. And I'm including everything from the greatest one, that the Butterfly Effect, or Dominion Sov trailer, or even This Is EVE, right, which is a huge trailer. That only got 2.5 million. And I say only because in comparison to this one, it's dwarfed. So what happened with Invasion's trailer that made it such a success?
Basically, it was just me watching it on the loop.
Yeah, over and over. You and me then.
Yeah, it's first of all, I mean, our cinematic team, they just, like, every time they deliver something astonishing. I think like every EVE player has their own favorite trailer, and like somebody speaks like, this is my favorite, this is my favorite. Like imagine how many awesome trailers we have, because like you can have a just debate about the best trailer.
Mine's Dominion.
Yeah, we were having that debate earlier.
Yeah, it's a good debate to have, and actually, I think my favorite is the gameplay trailer they did 1 year ago.
Mm-hmm. That was a nice one.
I think just because the challenge to capture what is EVE as a game in 6 minutes, they accomplished that. Like that's a really big challenge to do.
Yeah, my favorite one, and it would have been counterintuitive. I saw the Invasions trailer and I thought, it looks great, I like it. But they did a weird thing. They brought in players' voices talking to themselves as players. And so it wasn't as immersive as it could have been, like a science fiction movie. But it was probably a really good marketing, a way of translating that, hey, you're the ones in the story that are a part of all this. My favorite one personally was the 15th anniversary one, because the music was so uplifting. And you just see how much we've done over the years. And it wasn't because my face was on the Keep Star. I thought that, probably a mistake there. But the idea of, look how much history players have built, and look what you did, and look where it started, and look where you are now. And that music was just emotional.
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll change my favorite to that one instead of the gameplay. it's also good. But on the invasion thing, like you said, it was actually a bit of a fun twist, in my opinion, was EVE players talking with each other about the gameplay and what to do, a bit different spin, because also we have also done completely immersive trailers. We even use like a lot of the trailers that are still being watched so much every day of the old ones. People just go back and use it, like instead of watching Netflix, that people go and watch the EVE trailers. It's incredible to deep dive into the back end of YouTube analytics and seeing how many people are watching these old trailers every day.
Oh yeah, like entertainment. Like The Prophecy was a small movie. Future Vision was like a small movie. These things they're very compelling.
It's just world-class production. Like that's what it is. So Invasion trailer was, of course, like you said, 6.5 million views.
Yeah.
It is a lot of it is just purely because it's a great trailer, but we are also, of course, always running advertisements on EVE Online using the Invasion trailer as a pop-up advertisement for to promote EVE Online, the game, on YouTube. Especially.
It's great to see CCP investing in EVE marketing like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and that also goes to the point that there is, even though EVE is a 16-year-old game, there is so much interest still in the game from people that haven't tried it out yet. Or maybe, people trying it out 3 times, failing, then successfully entering it for the 4th time.
Yeah, this is a game, from personal experience, this is kind of a game that you save for your last game. Like I've conquered other games, now I'm coming to EVE Online. It's notoriously hard. Players are incredibly competent and they outplay each other all the time. I almost feel like there's a little bit of fear to step into EVE Online because it is like, it's like the daddy game. It's like the pros game.
Exactly, and that is also a bit of the challenge that we have to communicate to new people trying it out. Some people don't believe they can catch up, or it's too late to join. Of course, we all know that's total bullshit, but of course that's just perception is reality, and that's something we have to communicate to new people trying EVE out for the first time. It's definitely not too late, and it's not a 16-year-old game. It's a 16-year young game that has been in live development for 16 years and has the community that has achieved Guinness World Book breaking records.
That's such a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way, but it's not a 16-year-old game. It's a game right now that has 16 years of legacy. But the game is right now. It's today's game. It's beautiful. It looks like it was launched, this year. It just has a history to it. And it's a different way of looking at it. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's both the beauty and the challenge of the game is like it's been in development for so long. And of course, we also have some legacy challenges to deal with in terms of just how the game has developed in many systems and old code base and whatnot. But the beauty of it is there's been 16 years of live development. And it was, of course, also developed before it was launched for like 7 years or something. So you're talking about 23 years of developing this beautiful world.
Right. Okay. Well, we got to wrap up, but Dopamine, real quick, your favorite trailer, if you have one.
Yeah, I'm still going to have to go with the Invasion. I think I really liked it. I actually am a big fan of the sense of humor that was added there in terms of players talking to each other. I think that really resonated, that you can put yourself into that position like more directly than I don't generally get immersed with the game of me envisioning myself being somewhere there. So having that direct real life connection was amazing. And our cinematic team with every single cinematic is just outdoing themselves.
So you don't say pew pew when you're flying?
No. I do it when I'm driving.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And before we wrap up, also I want to just hammer home new players. There's so much interest in the game. We're losing so many new players that are interested in the game. We don't want to do that. We want to capture all that interest in the game. We also want to increase challenges for veterans, and that's not only nerfing everything. That's increasing fun things. Challenges are fun, and we don't want to publish some 3 to 5 year roadmap. We want to deliver things. We want to learn things. We want to iterate and go forward. And so just keep tuned. And the next Pulse might have some also interesting things, like things are developing.
Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you might consider this as just trying to, do some PR talk here. So I would simply say don't really look at our promises, just, judge us based on what we're actually doing and on our actions.
Okay, well, I can't let you go, though, on that, because it looks like players in nullsec didn't like what you were doing because you nerfed them too hard or something. But there was definitely, it seemed like the CSM went to Iceland and they brought their statistics, and you guys had your statistics. You guys had a meeting of the minds, and then blackout got lifted. So I don't know if that was adjusting in order to take some pressure off. It looks like it wasn't the right tool. It was always meant to be a limited time experiment. But challenging these players it looks to me like the players are kind of soft. I'm sorry to say, even from a nullsec player, they're kind of whiny about not being able to do the things they expect to do. So I think marketing this game to them, keeping them excited and making it hard for them is going to be a bigger challenge than just making things hard for them. It's almost like you have to make things hard for them in a way that they can accept it.
So first of all, like I said before, and I know I'm in marketing also, so everything I say will be put, there will be a filter on it, but to each their own. We did blackout. It's been like a decade debate probably whether null should have local or not. So we did it. We learned from it. Now we refine it. We learn. We go forward. We try the next thing. Eve is so complicated. You can't just debate things and try to boil the ocean before doing so. That just will cause long-term stagnation. Like you said before, it was planned as a temporary event. Let's move forward. We did this. We learned. We iterate. We go forward.
Right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Try. Really appreciate you guys taking some time out to tell us about CSM, the minutes, and everything that went on over there, and also talking about the tour that you guys are doing this year all through the world, stopping in many cities and getting closer to the people. So it's really great you guys had a chance to hang out with us. Appreciate it, Dopamine and Goodfella.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let's talk more about it at Vegas when you guys are going to be there. And anybody who's coming to Vegas, find me. I'm going to be roaming around. If you have any feedback about the game, you want to talk about the CSM, I'm available. Just give me a poke.
Great. So we will be at Vegas too, and we'll try to interview you and bring you to a streaming audience so that other people can feel like they're a part of Vegas. Not everybody can travel to Las Vegas. So what we're going to try to do is get as much out of there as possible for the audience. So a couple program notes. I also want to say that Talking in Stations is making some changes. We are going to get into the EVE Online article business. So it may be news. It might be some essays. It might be some fitting guides. And we are going to take it on. We found the right people for the right positions to make it happen. So look for articles on talkinginstations.com coming to you right away and into the future.
Love it.
Great.
Yeah. So that's a surprise. And even for Carneros, you could tell by the look on his face. He's like, oh my God, another commitment. Carneros, close us out.
Who approved this?
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Nice. I love it. Thank you very much. Again, see you in Vegas, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.